Obviously, with Arsenal, Timber announced today. Declan Rice expected to be announced imminently. I've seen reports saying it could even come out today at some point tonight. The business is over the line. You've had your first pre-season game. I'm not too sure because I had yesterday evening off. I didn't watch the Arsenal game. I spent some time with my kids, but I'm sure the Chelsea fans were ready for Kai Havertz to come on the way they were watching
I watched it. Don't worry.
The amount of Chelsea fans subscribed to MUTV was a madness. It was crazy, the amount that did that. But Arsenal now got their players in. Excited to get Rice through the door, like finally announced. Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time coming, Tel. I've lost count of how many times journalists have tweeted out, in 24 hours, 48 hours, it will be announced. You know, we've heard that over the last 12 days. We're hearing today that today is the day where we give West Ham all the paperwork to finalise the deal and get it sealed and done and over the line. Apparently, according to Sky Sports, at 4 o'clock, West Ham still hadn't received that paperwork yet. So it looks like it's going to drag on a little while longer. Pleased to get Timber done. I don't know why that deal took so long, personally. I'd like to be announced. I don't know what the deal was with that. It's been done for weeks now. I don't know why you wouldn't want to, kind of take him out to Germany and give him a run out against Nuremberg yesterday, which was an atrocious game, by the way. We see straight away in the first half, Arsenal were actually pretty decent. The moment that Thomas Partey came off, our midfield, we lost control in again. Kai Havertz, very underwhelming performance.
How was it?
Very underwhelming performance, Tel. And then what worried me even more is the fact that kind of late last night, I just had to have an emergency meeting kind of thing because Arteta's post-match interview came up on my phone. So I thought, I'll give a little listen to this, see what he's got to say. And he told the press that he doesn't have a role for Kai Havertz at Arsenal. Interesting.
Oh, no.
Do you believe that, though? Do you believe that? Or is he not going to tell... He's not going to go out and tell the media.
Why would
you
a secret?
Brandon, why would you tell the world your plans?
Oh, no doubt about it. Like, I'm not expecting him to turn around and say, yeah, this is his position. This is where I'm going to play him. I'm not expecting that. But it's just the way he worded things, the way he said it. Like, it was something along the lines of, I've got to get to know him and build a relationship with him. What is it? Love Island?
You know what the irony is? He got played in left. He got played in a position that everyone's been saying he's going to play in as a left centre mid.
On in the 8 role where Granit Xhaka played for Arsenal, and it was very, very underwhelming. But at the same time, I'm not going to overly criticise him because the whole team was poor. Balogun missed about 3 opportunities as well that he should have scored. And like I say, we lost control in the midfield the moment Thomas Partey went off. So all these Arsenal fans that are calling for Thomas Partey to leave, I'd rethink your strategy because it's clear to see that he's still very important to this team.
Brandon, it's only your first pre-season game, though. Come on, it's not. These games don't actually mean anything other than people getting.
They do. They do mean a lot. Pre-season means a lot.
I'll tell you something.
No. Okay, I'm not going over the top. Like again with Havertz, he was underwhelming yesterday. I saw his cameo. I wasn't impressed. It is where it is. His first pre-season back, first game for Arsenal, fitness, etc., etc. But exactly. It does matter in terms of fitness and actually getting a style of play, especially with new players as well. Like who impressed me in your team, Brandon, yesterday was that 16-year-old.
And this is the thing.
Manari?
You're going to point it out now.
He was good.
You're going to point it out now. Like in pre-season, players that are on the fringes, players that are coming in to learn new system, new signings, whatever it may be. That's the opportunity to actually show what you've got. This young 16-year-old kid, Ethan Wanyeri, who signed a scholarship with Arsenal, he was the best player on the pitch by a country mile. You could see that he had the drive, the passion, everything about his game was exceptional yesterday. And that's what I like to see from players in pre-season, players that are coming in, that are actually fighting and saying, look, I'm going to give the manager a decision to make. Kai Havertz come on yesterday at half-time. And he was kind of lumbered about the pitch.
Do you know what it was, Brandon? It was literally his performance, right? I know it's pre-season, but his performance was literally a continuation of what I've been seeing at Chelsea. Like on the ball, he wasn't great. He was very sloppy. Physically, even the 16-year-old looks more bulked up than him. Do you know what I mean? Like he came on and he was demanding the ball, trying to make things happen. Do you know what I mean? I thought Havertz would come in and try and make things happen, try and get on the ball. And he was a ghost pretty much all the game. Again, it's pre-season. I'm not going to go over the top. But I was impressed with Winari yesterday. He was really good.
Again, the reason why I worry about Arteta's comments at the end of the game on Kai Havertz is because of the way he said, well, we don't really know where he's best suited. And I'm like, okay, that's fair enough. You don't know where he's best suited. Nobody really knows his best position because he was played in all sorts of positions at Chelsea. And it just didn't work out for him at Chelsea. But I would have thought that if you're going to go and spend 65 million on Kai Havertz,
exactly.
Oh no!
They took him away. They're complaining. They took him out. In the comments, they're complaining. They're saying he doesn't defend Arsenal enough.
Igao hijacked his Wi-Fi. Igao shut that down.
Igao's fuming in the comments.
Lobbins, as obviously someone that was a close rival of Arsenal last season, do you think Brandon's maybe overreacting a little bit here to a pre-season result?
Yeah, I don't give pre-season any credence at all. Just from a Man City perspective, like we're normally terrible in pre-season, we're normally terrible in the Community Shields, terrible in the first few games, but then the season starts properly in earnest, and then we pop off. So yeah, I don't give pre-season any genuine thoughts. Yeah, and to be fair, I think the Brandon's maybe the only Arsenal fan I've encountered who isn't positive about next season. I think that if anything, I think most Arsenal fans maybe the other way. Maybe they're a bit too gung-ho. Like I've seen some people say that they're favourites to win the title. I was going to ask Brandon what his thoughts were on that, but yeah, I think that it's a little bit reactive in terms of like the negativity. It is pre-season, doesn't matter. It is going to take Arteta time to get used to Havertz and vice versa. So I think it is a little bit too reactive. And Brandon's here now, so I was going to ask you, mate, where you seem quite negative. So are you? I
wouldn't say it's reactive though, Nobbins. I think what Brandon's doing is literally just describing what he saw, and there's nothing wrong with that. Do you know what I mean? It's not reactive.
I didn't say there was. I'm just making the point that I don't really give any credence to pre-season.
Okay.
But your team doesn't need preseason. We understand why. The start of the league is
my level.
The start of the league, like the first 10 games, is your preseason, and then you end up winning the league.
Yeah.
So that's why you're saying that.
Yeah.
Us here, we actually need preseason. But like,
my issue with it, right, is like I said, he doesn't really have a set. Nobody really knows his best position because he was played in all sorts of positions at Chelsea. But I thought that Arteta going out there and pushing for Kai Havertz to join Arsenal, and then the reports are that he had to convince the board that this was a good signing and this would fit in the way that he wants to kind of move the team forward. To go out there and spend 65 million on a player who's been, let's be real, very average in the Premier League, right? I would have thought he'd have at least had a plan for Kai Havertz. It doesn't sound that way in the way that he was speaking yesterday. It sounds like he's trying him out in loads of different positions, seeing where he works best. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you're going to bring in Kai Havertz, at least have a plan on where you're going to play him. At the moment, he's just trying him out in all different types of positions, which is exactly what we see at Chelsea, which tells me that, again, he's jack of all trades, master of none. And we ain't got time to be giving players like Kai Havertz chances in all different types of positions when we're supposed to be fighting for a league title next season.
I actually wanted to defend you on that point, Brandon. Sorry, Patrick, give me 1 second. I was actually going to defend you on that point because, like, you guys said, Terry, you just said, well, like, why would he reveal his plans? You don't necessarily have to reveal your plans, but, like, Arsenal fans all along been getting from rivals that we're saying to them, you spent 65 million on a player that you don't know where you're going to use him at. And then your manager comes out and says the same thing. That doesn't really fill you with confidence. Now, ideally, the answer could have been like, well, you know, instead of revealing my plans, I could have just simply said, like, listen, I spoke with Kai Havertz. He knows where I'm going to play him this season. He knows his best position. We already talked about the plan. You could have said it in any other way where, like, listen, we discussed it internally. I'm not going to put it out there, but he knows. Instead, he comes out and basically says, well, I don't know. And that doesn't fill me. If I'm an Arsenal fan, it doesn't fill me with confidence because I'm sitting here. Rivals were telling me that. And then my manager said that, so my rivals were right. They weren't just hating on me. They were actually saying, when Chelsea fans are saying, you don't know his best position because we couldn't figure it out for 3 years, that's not Chelsea fans trolling me. That's them telling the truth. And now my manager said the same thing. So that would, if I'm Brandon, I would be a little bit worried.
And just to add to that, Staffy, when they signed him, Arteta actually said he's going to bring strength and quality to our midfield. He literally said that. That was his own words. So if they want to talk about Arteta and his words, your manager literally said he's going to bring something to our midfield. And then now he's sort of going back on it and saying we don't really know. You know, I'm sort of paraphrasing here. We don't really know.
I do get that, boys, but I think you're paying far too much time and attention to the way we analyze what managers say nowadays. It's like we're a jury and we're forensically analyzing what they've said to prove them to be liars. Are they truthful? Like we're going to vote them in to run our country or to look after our children or something mad. Like I think you're going a little bit too far over the top. Sometimes managers won't say, remember, managers are not trained orators and speakers. They will often, and a lot of our managers, English is not their first language, even if they speak very good English. So they sometimes don't always use the right words, or they may kind of mess something up. And I just think we take it far too literally. Of course, they don't know yet the best place for Kai Havertz to play, because everything's theory until he joins your team, right? No matter how many scouting reports you have, no matter how much you watch him, until he comes to your training sessions and plays in your team, you never quite know exactly where he's going to go. I don't think he's going to reveal his hand. And some people will say I'm just defending Arsenal again. No, I'm about not being a hypocrite. And I talk about Man United fans focusing far too much on the things Ten Hag says rather than what he actually does. What somebody does is far more important. And I just don't. So I think preseason is important in terms of fitness, getting your team playing well. I do think there are elements of importance around it. But I think your first game, when you make mass changes at half time, typically teams find that difficult. I think there is a slight overreaction. And again, reacting to what rivals are saying, I'll be honest with you, Staffy, be stronger. Be stronger. Like, rivals will say, Man United being called cheats online right now. We you know, and I know, because we've read what's happened. United didn't cheat. We just lost more money than we expected to lose. And it was based on a forecast. Now, it's not controllable we're not in complete control of that as a club, what comes in. We know we didn't cheat. I don't care if rivals say I'm a cheat, because I know the truth. If you're an Arsenal fan, it's like, I'm going to get angry at my manager because he said something similar to what fans banter me online for.
It's not more on the banter side, though, Terry.
That's a weird thing for me.
No, I get what you're saying, but it's not the banter side. It's actually saying, like, listen, if Don comes out here and says because, like, I listen to Don. Don knows what he's talking about. And if I ask him about a player that my team just signed, and he tells me, listen, we couldn't figure out his position for 3 years, so I think it's going to be an issue for you guys, because you're spending that much money on a player that couldn't nail a position for himself in the club, like in our team, for 3 years. Now he comes to my team and then my manager says the same thing Don said. That's not more of the banter side. That's more of me seeing, okay, there might be an issue here. Yeah, maybe we actually didn't make the best signing. It's about
trusting your manager, isn't it, Staffy? Like, again, Brandon's not a big fan of Arteta, so I do kind of get it. But if we're talking generally here, I trust Eric Ten Hag. So if he says something about Mount that we get bantered for from Chelsea fans, I trust my manager. I'm not going to sit there at home and get angry over a comment or a word that he used that is a little bit concerning, because I think there's too much attention on it. You know,
I think it's a combination of things, though, because when we spoke to when me and Brandon have spoken a few times about Havertz, and I've heard what you've said about him, you haven't been sold on it, and even the left centre mid, I think you said Xhaka's better in that role than Kai Havertz.
Right? The reason why I went against the grain on this Havertz one. You know, anybody who knows me and my thoughts on the previous signings at Arsenal, Mikel Arteta, whatever. Anybody who would have said to me that Arsenal was signing Kai Havertz at the beginning of the summer, I'd have told you, no way. I don't want that guy, full stop. But when the reports came out that it was Mikel Arteta that was pushing for this signing, I kind of switched on a little bit to say, okay, maybe it will be a good signing, because one thing that's worse than getting a player that's not particularly proven themselves is giving them a manager, a player that he doesn't want and doesn't feel like he can work with. So if Mikel Arteta is the one that's pushing for this signing, then fine. I'm quite happy with that, regardless of, Kai Havertz's form at Chelsea and that. He clearly feels like he can get something out of Kai Havertz. He must have a plan for him. And then when you hear that last night and it's sounding like he doesn't really know his best position, he doesn't really have a plan for Kai Havertz, that screams out to me, well, this is a big problem then. I'd have rather him go out and spend £65 million on a player that he can say, yeah, he fits here, rather than trying and testing Kai Havertz in lots of different positions, which we see at Chelsea, and not really knowing where his best position is. I feel like we're at that point now where we're fighting for a league title. We need players to come in and have a set role, a set position, and to elevate this team so we can fight Manchester City again. If you're bringing in someone like Kai Havertz, you don't know whether he's got a set role or a set position. You don't even know where you're going to play him. That screams to me that this signing isn't going to work out, unfortunately.
I get the feeling that you're... Go on, Patrick.
Yeah. Can I just say, I think everyone's going way too far on this. Like, it's pre-season, first and foremost. So if the manager wants to play him at left back, right back, centre defence, this is what you do in pre-season. You play players in different roles. Like, you make multiple changes. You can change your whole team at half-time. You can switch things up. So even if Kai Havertz starts at, left centre mid today or whatever, in as a centre forward next week on the left wing, on the right wing, this is what you do. This is when you make all these changes and mess about. So first and foremost, I don't really buy into this whole Arteta doesn't know what he's doing. It's pre-season. It's the first game. Secondly, he's not going to come out and give away all his secrets. You already know Arteta's not someone to do this. Even when you guys had your best centre-back injured, I can't remember his name now, I skipped my mind. Saliba. And he probably knew from the outset that Saliba wasn't going to play again this season. And every week by week, he was saying, we'll just have to check in and see, and I'll let you guys know when I know. He knew from the get-go that Saliba was out for the season. So Arteta he holds his cards close to his chest. He's not going to come out with that information. And thirdly, again, it's pre-season. Like, I think people are going way too far with this. Literally, this is when you experiment, when you make changes, when you allow a 16 or 17-year-old to play with the squad. This is when, if you're not going to do it now, you'll never do it. So, Brandon, I think you're overdoing it a bit, personally.
I don't think he is. I don't think he is. I think it's just talking.
The kids at the bottom. No, it's not. The grown-ups at the top are like.
Do you know what it is though? How I look at it, Patrick. How I look at it right now, yeah. Like, Brandon's literally just talking about what he saw, because the first thing he spoke about was Havertz was underwhelming yesterday. We all understand it's pre-season. We all get that. And for me as a Chelsea fan, I didn't need Mikel Arteta to make those comments yesterday for me to understand that. Do you know what I mean? For me to have that opinion on Havertz, because we've been telling them about him when it comes to that, right? But one thing that I'll say is that, again, a 16-year-old played way better than him yesterday. So I'm sure Brandon wanted to see a little bit more, but again, he's not going to say that's it, Havertz is done, he's not going to work for us. It's just like he's literally talking about what he saw yesterday. And in addition to that, Mikel is saying things that people were skeptical about when it comes to Havertz. So I don't think he's going over the top. He's not going crazy about it. He's just literally just talking about what he saw. I don't think he's going over the top.